Hello dear friends, welcome back to my channel. In the previous video we have discussed about gametogenesis, which is a very important part of human reproduction, and there we have discussed about spermatogenesis in detail. So in this video we will be discussing the another part, that is oogenesis. So what is oogenesis? As we all know, the formation of haploid ova, that is eggs, from diploid germinal cells in the ovary is known as oogenesis. So compared to spermatogenesis, that is unlike sperm formation which starts at puberty, this egg formations begins during embryonic development stage and it is completed after fertilizations. So we will see in detail in the later part of the video. And further, this oogenesis has three phases. So that is multiplication phase, growth phase and maturation phase. Here you can see in the figure, that is multiplication phase, growth phase and maturation phase. In multiplication phase, during fetal development, certain cells of the germinal epithelium of ovary, which are comparatively larger in size than others, functions as germ cells, and these germ cells undergo mitotic divisions. Many times they will undergo divisions and finally it will form oogonia, which is also known as egg mother cells, which has 2n number of chromosomes. Here in the figure you can see that each oogonium undergoes several mitotic divisions to produce additional oogonia, which is diploid. Next, the oogonia multiply by mitotic divisions and project into a stroma as a cord, which is known as egg tube of Flügger, and which later in a later part it become like a round mass, which is known as egg nest. So here one cell in the egg nest grows and becomes the primary oocyte. So further these primary oocytes undergo meiosis division, that is meiosis 1, and it will give one secondary oocyte and first polar body, and after meiosis 2 each secondary oocyte will give one ovum, that is egg, and second polar body, and later on the first polar body will give two polar bodies. So in the growth phase, the primary oocytes will grow into a very larger size by taking food from the surrounding follicle cells, and it happens during puberty. And this phase, that is growth phase, is very long compared to growth phase of spermatogenesis, and it may extend over many years. And in growth phase, meiosis begins in the primary oocytes soon after their formations, and the oocytes, primary oocytes which are formed, are temporarily arrested in the early part of the meiotic prophase 1, that is in the diplotin stage of prophase 1 of meiosis 1, and later on each primary oocytes gets surrounded by a layer of granulosa cells, and it will, which is known as primary follicle. Next, the formations of primary follicles in the later part, from birth to puberty, many follicles gets degenerated. So at puberty only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left in each ovary. So in the maturation phase, after the attainment of puberty, each follicles contained oocytes resume their development, and one kind of layer is formed, which is known as theca, which is develops from the cortex region, and the primary follicles later on converted into secondary follicles after the formation of this layer, theca layer, and theca layers further differentiated into two types, that is theca interna, which is inner layer, and theca externa, which is outer layer. Later on, granulosa cells secrete fluid that cause the development of cavity, which is also known as antrum, into the primary oocytes. Then the secondary follicles become the tertiary follicle. Tertiary follicles. So primary oocytes grow further and completes meiosis 1, and it produces a large secondary oocytes and it forms a small polar body, which both are haploid. We have seen in the previous slide. Later on, if we see the difference between the secondary oocytes and a small polar body, in polar body it has very small amount of cytoplasm, but the chromosome number is same as compared to secondary oocytes. And in secondary oocytes, the bulk of the nutrient rich cytoplasm is found. Next, the tertiary follicles further changes into the mature follicles, which is known as Graafian follicles. And here the secondary oocytes forms a new membrane known as zona pellucida, which surrounds the Graafian follicles or ovum. Next, the Graafian follicles ruptures to release the secondary oocytes, that is egg ovum, from the ovary by a process known as ovulation. In human being, ovulation takes place after 14 days before the onset of the next menstruations. So ovum passes into oviduct, that is in the ampulla part regions, where cell cycles will resume only after the entry of sperms, and it triggers the breakdown of M phase promoting factor and promotes synthesis of anaphase promoting complex, and meiosis 2 is completed here. And the second polar body extruded and the first polar body divide to form two second polar bodies. So at the end of oogenesis, we will see that each oogonium gives one ovum and three polar bodies. Next, the oocyte is changed into ovum or oocyte, and the ovum is the actual female gamete. The polar bodies does not take part in reproductions, and soon after their formations they degenerate due to the lack of cytoplasm and food. So now let us see how the ovum looks like and what are the structure of ovum. So ovum, which is non-motile female gamete, in human ovum it is non-cladoid, means without cell, and it is also known as alacethal because it does not have yolk. And ovum is covered by a membrane known as plasma lemma or oolemma, and its cytoplasm is termed as ooplasm. And in the outer region, ooplasms contain a number of mucopolysaccharides, which is known as cortical granules. So it is a kind of carbohydrates which contain microtubules, mitochondria, ribosomes, RNA, proteins, glycogen particles, and lipid globules. So these are some biochemicals which are found in ovum. The nucleus of ovum is large and is also called as germinal vesicles, and each ovum has polarity, that is animal pole and vegetal pole. Here you can see in the figure animal pole and vegetal pole, and the space where the polar bodies are found is known as perivitelline space. Here you can see this is a perivitelline space where polar bodies are located. So ovum has two coverings, that is two layers are there, zona pellucida, which is non-cellular, and the another is corona radiata, which is multicellular. So corona radiata is a multicellular layer, whereas zona pellucida is a non-cellular layer of ovum. Now let us see what is the main difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. So spermatogenesis takes place in testes, whereas oogenesis takes place in ovary, and all stages of spermatogenesis occurs inside testes, whereas in oogenesis half part or major part of oogenesis occur inside ovary, but later stages occur inside oviduct. Spermatogenesis is a continuous process, whereas oogenesis is a discontinuous process. Spermatogenesis develops from germinal epithelium lining the seminiferous tubules, whereas oogenesis develops from the germinal epithelium which is overlying in the ovary. Again, in the spermatogenesis or in the testes, one differentiation of germinal epithelium is found, that is Sertoli cells, but such differentiation is not found in oogenesis. All the spermatogonia divide to form spermatocytes, whereas only some oogonia give rise to oocytes. And growth phase of spermatogenesis is very short, whereas oogenesis growth phase is very long. And also primary spermatocytes divides meiosis 1 to form two secondary spermatocytes, whereas in oogenesis primary oocytes divides after meiosis 1, which gives only one secondary oocytes and one polar body. And after meiosis 2, it produces two spermates, each spermatocytes, whereas secondary oocytes after meiosis 2 gives one egg and one polar body. And spermatocytes forms 4 spermatozoa, whereas in oogenesis an oocytes form only one egg or ovum. Sperms are smaller than spermatocytes, whereas eggs or the ovums are larger than the oocytes. The nucleus undergo condensation in the sperm, whereas nucleus remain uncondensed in the ovum. And the reserve food is little in the sperms, whereas in ovum it has large amount of reserve food and other biochemicals. And in spermatogenesis, the gametes, which is sperms, is motile, whereas in oogenesis the ovum is non-motile. So that is the main difference between spermatogenesis and oogenesis. Now let us see what is the main significance of oogenesis. So in oogenesis, one oogonium produces one ovum and 3 polar bodies, and also the polar bodies have a small amount of cytoplasm, so due to which it helps to retain sufficient amount of cytoplasm in the ovum, which is very essential for the development of early embryo. And also formations of polar body maintains the half number of chromosome in the ovum. Next, during meiosis, first crossing over takes place. So due to this crossing over, it brings variation in an individual. Next, oogenesis occurs in various organisms. So due to this, it supports the evidence of basic relationships of the organism. So these are some significance of oogenesis. So here I would like to end my video. So these are all about oogenesis. In the next video we will discuss about the later part of human reproduction, that is menstrual cycle and fertilizations. So at last I would like to say, keep watching my videos, like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much for your time.